Well, hello. Welcome back to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And we are back. And thank all our people, and even the ones who dislike some of the things we say, for standing up for us during this time. So we can begin the show by maybe, I guess, talking a little bit about this whole fiasco, which is clearly a First Amendment issue. As much as they try to make it something else, it's a First Amendment issue. So, and for you guys, don't tell me my glasses like tilted they are, because if I put them down, I get too much glare here.
Right.
So, but this complaint, these complaints, and CJ's got them ready. It's ironic because the same attorney who wrote those complaints was accusing the police department of fabricating something against her client. Yet these things want to talk about everything except the First Amendment, which this is all about. Because if you read out my letter on our Facebook page, it was very clear. CJ wrote a letter also that we were talking about people in their political capacity, and anybody who knows us knows we have no animosity toward women, and because it doesn't matter whether you're a male, a female, or a unicorn. We're going to call you out if you're a politician. And granted, we can be a little hyperbolic with some of the descriptive adjectives we use, but that's our prerogative. So this is a First Amendment issue. The college has caved to political pressure, and everybody involved on the other side has some tie to the mayor. And that's just the way it is. So take it away, CJ.
Yeah, what was interesting is, let's name the people that filed complaints. Attorney Rainey Brown, who, by the way, we never spoke about on our show. Elaine Pavid, who misinterpreted or inferred that we were talking about her when a mention was made about a potential investigation into the city, because I had said that she was leaving, and she had given, I thought I said 2 or 3 weeks notice, when it was actually 2 or 3 months notice, and I corrected that in the next show. You after I finished talking about her giving notice, came in and said, and there's a potential investigation into the city government. I guess Elaine Pavid inferred that we were talking about her being under investigation, and her complaint to Keith Tebow was such that she said that we've destroyed her life.
Well, listen, that's hyperbolic language to fabricate things, to make it dramatic. And the reality is we destroyed her life, but we said nothing. Like you said, right. She's making an assumption. And actually, if you can corroborate this, because if we ever get to court with this, and and we countersue for the frivolity of this whole thing, I'd like to put her on the stand and find out how. We never said that. We never said she was under investigation, and we saw the hyperbole that Renee Brown can use. With some of the dramatic language she used, misogynists and inciting violence. And listen, maybe she doesn't have it. She seems to have a pretty good command of hyperbole. But we could turn around and accuse every one of these individuals of being misandrists. So you can look it up in a dictionary. But it's women who hate men. So we're not going to accuse them of that. They did this intentionally. They weaponized gender to create an issue outside the First Amendment. And that's what this really is all about. The reality is that she inferred. You said that she had given 2 weeks to, I don't know, and it was ended up 2 months. Doesn't matter. You corrected it. And then I said there is a rumor and an allegation that there's an investigation going on about the 6th floor. Now, she wanted to draw that inference. Well, I'll tell you what. I could draw the inference that she was leaving because she had nothing to do with anything involved in that investigation, and she just wanted to distance herself from that entire mess. So, she did this with malice toward us. This was a hit job, a political hit job. And she manufactured. If you want to talk about manufacturing a complaint, I mean, this one has absolutely no grounds. It's what she thought. We ruined her life so much she was leaving the city anyway. So listen, it's all hyperbole. And as far as Mimi Larrabee is concerned, you defamed her character by saying that. Well, you made a retraction and you corrected the thing. You weren't wrong. It was just the length of time involved. And the reality is that she is a elected official. And in my letter, I cited the Supreme Court decision. It said, even if it was defamatory, it's allowed under First Amendment rights. But it wasn't defamatory. It was a fact. The only difference was they took a little piece of that fact and said, oh, you were wrong. It's a technicality. She still did not get the proper certification from the city council. So all this stuff is fabricated. And we have two political figures, one attorney who ironically now is basically claiming the same thing when she's representing a client. But something, that's her job as an attorney. She's got to come up with some defense, and that's her job. But if anybody has a proven track record of attacking people as a unit, not as individuals, we take responsibility for all we say individually. It's some of those people. We have a picture of Renee Brown, Linda Pereira, Laura Washington at the St. Anthony the Desert Maharajan, which is a festival, Syrian festival, Lebanese festival. And they call themselves the Coven. We've also seen that in that group, in effect, creating a coordinated attack against City Councilor Michelle Dion because they dislike her politics. So let he who is without sin cast the first stone. This is a diversionary tactic to take away the fact that they use their political power. And it's one of those emails, I believe, that Joe Good said in that email that the mayor was considering not funding the college. So that is a de facto threat to the college.
It's an abuse of power.
It is. And you have two sworn officials, Mimi Larrabee and Laura Washington, who stuck their hand up and swore an oath to protect the Constitution and abide by it, trying to remove our constitutional right. That's what this whole issue is about. That's what it is. And that's why we're back on the air, and you're not going to stop us from talking, because everything we said about them, nobody's personally attacked Laura Washington outside her abysmal performance as a city councilor. Nobody has talked about her personal life. And there's plenty to talk about there, as you know. Nobody's mentioned anything. Everybody read in the paper about the drugs in the house, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about. And actually, I think somebody called her out on something in her personal life on a radio show.
Right.
It wasn't us. We don't bring personal things into the show. We're talking about their performance as councilors. And when we talked about her leaving, it was fundamentally to frame that a lot of people leave this city because it's it's a really bad place to work unless you're in. So this is all about First Amendment. The college chose to cave, and they will ultimately be held responsible. So that's enough about that, because I don't care. And if they want to take us to court on it, we're waiting.
Well, the interesting part about the whole thing is that the Supreme Judicial Court ruled that citizens can call out their politicians for anything. They don't have to be civil. They don't have to be clean language. They can call them anything they want, whether it be corrupt or, the grace of God. They bring the grace of God down to people. Either way, they can say what they want about them. And it's more important because they said that they can say that also in public input. Public input. If you want to call your city councilor an effing whatever, you can in public input, and they can't shut you down. They cannot shut you down. And that was rendered by the Supreme Judicial Court recently. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody go out and start swearing at citizens' input, but you've already seen how Joe Camara has stopped citizens' input by restricting people who want to send their citizens' input in writing. But Joe, the thing that you forget about is the fact that Joe Macy, Gary Howiak, and myself went before the Mass Commission Against Discrimination, which an agreement was made with the city of Fall River that the city of Fall River will allow public bodies to take written citizens' input, especially from the disabled. And as such, by you violating that agreement, we can bring this back before the MCAD. So understand, there's not a lot you can do about it. And if you keep restricting people's citizens' input time, somebody's going to say something about it.
Well, you're right, CJ, but they like to use the law against people and deny the other people, the other side, protection under the law. That's what our case is about. That's what all these cases are about. Just look at the federal level. Look what they're doing to Republicans and conservatives. The DOJ's been weaponized. The FBI's been weaponized. They arrest them on minor charges, yet you get Hunter Biden walking away from 2 felonies and tax evasion that he should be doing jail time for. I guess Jaysville must be a little upset seeing the way Hunter got treated by the IRS. I mean, based on what Hunter got with what he did, Jaysville should have got no jail time. I mean, this is about a double standard, and they're applying a double standard to this intentionally, and they're not applying the correct standard. They're not applying the First Amendment, and that is buttressed by that Supreme Court case. But listen, we really appreciate the people who are constantly in disagreement with our position, who actually said that we should not have been removed from the air, because we've never, ever tried to get anybody removed from the air because of what they said. We'll disagree with it on our show. We'll disagree with it face to face. We'll disagree with it anywhere we have an opportunity to. But the reality is that we do not. You don't see us demanding that BCC take Laura Washington off the air for filing that totally false complaint. All those allegations are false. Misogyny. Really? Do you know the majority of retirees are women? We have more than 50% in the healthcare. And every day I'm working for those people. And they're not happy. Because you just trump up charges to create a diversion, because you don't want us to be able to speak So I think that's it. That's the position. And like I said, um, we were talking about them in the context of their performance. Their gender had nothing to do with it. They weaponized their gender intentionally to manufacture something. Because it doesn't matter whether Laura Washington's a male, a female, a unicorn, or somebody that changes her gender on demand daily, which is possible in today's society. She sucks as a city councilor. She never does her homework. By her own admission, she takes the word of the mayor all the time. And her votes, she's never voted for anything for the public, including this budget. So with that, I'm done with this. We want to shift over into the city of Fall River. And the great thing is we are not restricted to a half an hour.
No, if we want to go longer, we can.
That's right.
Yeah.
So but let's start with, it's election time. It seems pretty quiet. I don't see much going on here.
Yeah, I've noticed that. It's been a quiet election season this time around. I was surprised to see that Jordan Sylvia made it to the city council list of candidates, then did somebody else. But one of the things that I found out, which this is an allegation, I'm not sure how accurate it is, but according to a person who was at the Board of Elections when Jordan turned in his papers, they didn't notice that none of the nomination papers were notarized. Now, I'm sure that if Ryan accepted it, at least one of those papers must have been notarized. But if not, how come it's a different rule again? It's always different rules, we find out. And with Ryan, you never know what's happening. Jordan wanted to be in the mayoral race because he wanted to take on Sam and Paul. And we know what that would have been like, because if you remember the race with Jazel and Sam and Jordan was there, it was a lot of fireworks, and Jordan can bring up the fireworks. So it's going to be nice to see him on the city council ballot, and maybe he'll get elected. And if he is, God help the city council, because I'll tell you now, there won't be anything that will be left secret the way the mayor likes to keep it. And if we get a new mayor and a new city council, we'll definitely have a change in this city.
Well, let's hope it heats up. And one thing about Jordan, he will bring some heat. If he, hopefully he'll bring some heat as a council candidate. And because we need to discuss issues, and that's it. People that have no record or have an abysmal record like to not talk about anything. You notice that Biden now is trying to run for president while he's going to hide for the entire election cycle. There'll be no debates. There'll be no nothing. They don't put him in front of a camera unless they absolutely have to, because he's destroyed the country. We're in a major recession. Is
that what's happening in Fall River?
And he lies about everything. He says the economy's great. But the one that really, made me angry was when someone brought up Afghanistan, because the Department of Defense came out with a scathing report about how screwed up that withdrawal from Afghanistan was. And he actually said it went fine. 13 members of our military were killed because of total incompetence. They let the enemy come right up against the gates, and that's why they were killed. Everybody knows you need to keep these people out. You need a free fire zone. You need something that you can see them coming. You can't allow them to surround you. Last person who thought that tactic worked was Custer with the Indians, and it didn't work. But now we're talking about the city, so let's go. And, they talk about us disinformation. We got a lot of facts here, so I want to hold this little thing up. This is, you can't really see it. I hate these cameras because I can't. Oh, okay. This is Paul Coogan's draft for the transitioning team. I just want to read a couple of quotes here. This is about economic development, workforce development, et cetera, which we've had virtually nothing. Their economic development's all market rate housing that actually is against Fall River. But this is a quote at the bottom of the page. There's a quote there, and we'll put it up at some point in time, and hopefully one of the candidates will use this quote. Economic development and community development go hand in hand. One cannot survive without the other, unquote. Mayor Paul Coogan. Well, do you think it's developing the community? I'm asking a rhetorical question here. Do you think that driving people out of their homes with incredibly high rents is community development? No. Do you think having unsafe streets is really community development? I don't think so. Do you think allowing, SUVs to terrorize the streets and stuff with little or no problem? I don't know. These are all quotes. This thing is full of them. Every page has got a quote at the bottom, and they're all things that he said were critical to having a good city, and he hasn't really done anything. Here's another one. A well-functioning city is defined by well-maintained streets, which we all know the streets are clean and vibrant. We saw the trash bags outside City Hall, and vibrant neighborhoods. Well, if you call bullets flying around most of the neighborhoods, not the North End. You're right, Paul. Not in all the neighborhoods. An efficient delivery of public service. Well, we know the disarray the police department's in, and now there's talk that he's looking to cut the fire department because of money. So all these promises really didn't make. They had no action, and he's been in nearly 4 years. So again, these are the kind of things that you see. We're not working for the people of Fall River, the unconnected. Everybody that got a job from him is fine. They can pay all his fees because they got a nice job. And that's the way it is. It's just like I talked about the ATVs. I spoke to City Councilor Michelle Dion about that. This weekend I saw two young kids, males, gassing up unregistered dirt bikes at a gas station. And I noticed it. No plates, pretty obvious. They're not registered. There's no plates. And then I was waiting at the lights. They gassed up. They came out of the gas station. They made a right, and then they made the left up Eastern Avenue. And then as my light changed and I was beginning to drive south on Eastern Avenue, they were popping wheelies in front of the traffic. And I mentioned to Councilor Dion about, why these gas stations selling these people gas. They should be calling the police and say there's people driving unregistered vehicles, because it's illegal for them to drive those things on the street to the gas stations. If they want to come with a gas can, it better be approved, the gas can, but they have to fill the gas tank. And it was very informative because she told me she's looking it up, but they had a discussion about it in our illustrious Corporation Council said, we can't put the gas stations in that position because if they refuse to give them gas, there might be problems. Well, there's already a problem. You're an attorney. Driving an unregistered motor vehicle on a street is a crime. So there's already a problem. And that's a bigger problem than the gas station owner enforcing the law. Something should be done about this. Because what's going to happen when one of these idiots causes an accident, or God forbid, murders somebody, or seriously injures somebody, like they did in New York City. You remember the time when they pulled a car over, a whole bunch of them, and they terrorized these people and were beating them and things like this? Who knows? Mob psychology. The city should be sued. City should be sued. If the city's going to take a position that you're going to allow unregistered motor vehicles to drive all over the city and gas up, and not even pass some kind of ordinance to say you can't provide these people with gasoline, you got to report them to the police, because you're sworn to uphold the law. When I was working, I was sworn to uphold the laws, including the fire codes. And when I saw somebody gassing up with the car running, I told them to shut off their engine. If I saw them trying to put gas in an unapproved container, I told them they could not do it. But
well, Paul,
again, this is the way this city ignores the law, because they don't want to make any waves, especially during an election cycle.
That's right. And remember, even though Rumsey said this, Rumsey represents who? Paul Coogan.
Yeah.
So Paul Coogan doesn't want to stop these ATV riders by that action. Now, Paul has said that he wants to stop it and he's looking for a way to do that. But one of the ways is to cut off their fuel supply. Okay? And remember, gas stations have to be licensed. They sell gas to unregistered vehicles, revoke their license. Now, there's nothing to stop them from using an approved gas container and walking up to the gas pump and filling it up with 2 gallons of gas or 5 gallons of gas or whatever it may be, because you may need it for your lawnmower or something. But if you make it more difficult, there'll be fewer people on the road, I would hope. I would hope. But again, this is Fall River, and people only want to see what they want to see and hear what they want to hear. And that's the biggest problem. And you cannot put Fall River right if you're only going to represent the few. Because if the poor and undeserving aren't being represented, which they're not by the city council, not by the mayor, and definitely not by the school committee, you have a problem. You have a problem. I mean, the city has hid everything in the school department. We've got multiple complaints about inappropriate contact with a child by a teacher. We have multiple sexual harassment complaints, age discrimination complaints, all of which have been buried by this administration.
With help from some of the people that we called out as cover-up artists. That's and then right. They accuse us of defaming them. No, we stated a fact. You right. People are sworn to do what? Mimi Laravie, because you gave the wrong amount of time, said you defamed her or something like that, but you didn't. You corrected it. You said, okay, I was wrong. It wasn't 3 years. It was 3 days or 3 months. Doesn't matter. She still didn't take the appropriate action as an elected official that she should have. And that's the core issue. It's a technicality. It's like letting the guy who killed 28 people in a McDonald's go because they forgot to Mirandize him. This is what's wrong about the law. But getting back to the ATVs, if they cause an accident, if anybody causes an accident and your car's unregistered or you're driving around plates, you're going to be cited for that too. Besides the auto accident, you're going to be charged with operating an unregistered motor vehicle or driving without a license. And that's the problem. Yet these illegal thugs who are terrorizing the streets, and it's coming faster now because here comes the summer, and I've already started to see more and more of them appearing on the streets. It's the city of Fall River's legal counsel is telling gas stations in the city to ignore it. We don't want any problems, especially during an election year. We don't want problems. Just let them gas up and terrorize the city. So, this is a problem again. They always forget That's why when I cited the case, I knew it was like urinating into the wind because nobody cares. They don't care about the law, only when it suits them. You know, we all know what part of the first Article 5 says, and Part 4, and Article 4 of part of the first. Part 4 says we are the government. Part 5 says they are at all times answerable to us. Not cover up Malone, and Mimi Lowry was instrumental in that cover up. And to this day, we've never gotten full disclosure. And as you said, there are more and more instances. You ignore a problem, they continue. And all the other issues. What happened to the security guy? He's on suspension. Is he fired or what? We know about these things. We bring them, and they get upset. That's the reason they want us off the air, because we're going to tell you what is out there, and we have good sources. We know what's going on, and we're not going to bury it like they do even on a federal level. There's still no talk on the mainstream media about Hunter Biden and the sweetheart deal. So because we have a media that's playing ball with the powers to be, the people who are being victimized are the people of Fall River, the people who are not connected, who can't afford their rents.
Well, you're right. And, people say that rent is under the free market, and people asking for rent control are wrong. I don't think people are actually seeking rent control per se. I think people want affordable rent, and that is in the hands of the mayor. The mayor needs to create affordable rent properties, and creating 2 or 3 out of a project of 60 or 70 is not creating affordable rent properties. It's that simple. I've seen it too many times. There's hundreds of people there to try to get one apartment, and a lot of people walk away disappointed. But I have to bring up something, okay? Because this, I firmly believe, was one of the causes of getting us off the air. The Fall River Picnic Grove. That was a project created by Linda Pereira and Billy Damaris. They solicited donations from every organization they could, Bishop Electric, Home Depot, et cetera, and the city, according to what was said, the city only laid down the concrete flooring or ground work that was requested. It didn't cost the city anything. Well, I have a problem, and here's the problem. On May 24th, I requested from the city, and I'm going to read it exactly as it was sent. Pursuant to Mass General Law 66, Section 10, I am requesting that the City of Fall River and/or the Fall River Water Department please provide proof of ownership of the land in which the picnic grove was created by City Councilor Linda Pereira. And if so, I request that an investigation be conducted into how the project received numerous donations without the approval of the City Council. The response I received back from the City Clerk's office on June 16th, I have been advised that your request is excessively broad and does not comply with the Public Records Law. Requests for public records must reasonably describe the records sought. I think I did say that. I said I wanted ownership, proof of ownership. Isn't that a proof of records sought? Is that not specific enough?
It would appear to be specific enough to me.
Right.
But look, again, it's their interpretation. They fabricate interpretations so they don't have to do their sworn duty under the Constitution to be answerable to us.
So,
and I think you're right, CJ. I think that really lit a fire under some people, because I think they're really worried about that, because, again, allegedly there is an investigation going on about other improper dealings that include city money.
Right.
So,
well, let me continue on with this because I sent an email after that on June 16th, same day, about 20 minutes after I received it. They received a request from the Secretary of State's office that says, please be aware that this office has received an appeal relating to your entity's response to the request for public records. Attached are further details concerning this appeal. If you have any questions or wish to provide further information relating to this matter, please contact the Public Records Division. Given the supervisor of records must issue a determination within 10 business days of receipt of the appeal petition, please provide any additional information. Now, here's the kicker. Okay. I specifically said in my request that how much more specific can I be for the records than asking proof of ownership? And oddly enough, the city responded with, which was very interesting, per your request, please find attached information relating to property ownership. The administrator of assessing has advised that he did not locate a separate deed for a picnic grove area. I trust that this response sufficiently satisfies and concludes the public records request. It did not. I sent that back for the review by the Secretary of State. Obviously, the city doesn't know if it owns the land. I've been working with the city councilor on this. We've done research after research after research, including using Google satellites, Google pictures, Google locators, Google Maps. We've gone through all of it. We've done extensive research on the Bristol County Registry of Deeds. Nowhere is the picnic grove listed as being owned by the city of Fall River. So if that is correct, that the city cannot prove its ownership, what gave Linda allegedly the right to create that picnic grove there with Paul's name? Because remember, Paul's name is on that picnic grove. So he too is responsible for this.
Well, CJ, come on. There you go again. You're actually expecting them to have records. They don't know where half the money is. I read that thing about you have to account. I don't think I'll read that one. You have to account for your money. That one of his. Oh yeah, that's amazing. I just opened it up. It's like karma. Just opened it up to the right page. This is another one of Paul's quotes. With limited amounts of resources, all money should be properly accounted for and spent wisely. Do you think that it would be wise if we actually paid attention to where the money's going? Do you think that we should have a deed to property? I mean, we got to register of deeds, right? Property's registered in the registry of deeds. So you don't think that the city of Fall River should be able to say, well, we own the property that includes the picnic ground, right? Here's the deed. The reality is you got nothing, just like they know nothing. Just like when I sent the citizens' input to tell them about the millions of healthcare dollars that were returned to the city that was spent and are totally unaccounted for. And they didn't read it as they should have read it. And they never even mentioned it during the budget hearings. Remember, they didn't even talk about revenue streams. They funded contracts with things like, okay, we're going to look at some investments down the road. That's like saying, well, give me a mortgage for my house. And they say, how are you going to pay for it? Well, I'm looking at maybe hitting a couple of scratch tickets down the road. And you know, I might also get lucky or something and inherit some money. You think the bank's going to give me money? No, I got to bring in paychecks. I got to bring in tax returns for the last 5 years to get a mortgage. And we all know what happens when they gave mortgages out during a period when the banks collapsed with people who couldn't afford mortgages. So again, you know, they still haven't answered, just like years ago when we sued the city and had a forensic audit, and the arbitrator said the city was in a total state of book disarray. Their books, they couldn't account for anything. They still can't account for anything. They can't account for land. They can't account for money. They don't know where anything is, and that's not acceptable. And there will be a complaint. You're going to hear it here first. There will be a complaint filed with the Department of Revenue, any Attorney General, about the way this budget was funded, and the people who, and I am going to file complaints against everybody who voted for this budget because they have not funded it properly. But it's politicians. Isn't it amazing that politicians get to spend money and completely exactly the opposite of what Paul Coogan said in a quote, and I got it in writing. Spending it wisely. They blow money. They take losses. And you know what they say? Who gives it? Nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit. Because guess what? It's the taxpayers' money. We don't care. Just like we don't care about rents. Look at what they did now. They got a report. Fall River's a beautiful place to retire. Then you look a little deeper into the report. It's not really some kind of like the FBI statistics on crime. It's a marketing firm. And they talked about, you know what they talked about in that? If you read it, they talked about how low the rents were in Fall River. They used the U.S. Census Bureau, which you know is my favorite place to go for statistics. And they said the rents were $800 in Fall River. That was one of the benefits, which is an absolute lie. So they get to make the rules, just like the federal government does. They don't care. They screwed up Afghanistan. They left billions of dollars worth of equipment in Afghanistan. Taxpayer paid, killed 13 military heroes. It's okay. Just turn the page. Let's move on. Nobody gives a damn how much money we blow. Nobody cares that we hire 6 people to screw in a light bulb, that Paul Coogan hires 4 people to supervise the same amount of people that one person was supervising before, and just has created an employment agency in the city of Fall River. Nobody cares about that, but we do, and we think the people should care because we're here. Again, they tried to stop us, but we're back because we want you to get out and vote. Show them that you are no longer going to let them urinate on your head and try to convince you that it's raining. But it is raining. Your money.
Well, going back to the picnic grove, the city tried to provide me an assessor's card for the land, which wasn't for the land. It was for the old daycare center. Remember the daycare center down there?
Oh, I remember it very well.
Okay. And the card even says that there is a wooden building on the property. The picnic grove doesn't have a wooden building, but the assessor's card shows a wooden building on that land. That is not the picnic grove.
Yeah, but who the hell is the assessor, CJ? That's not a legal document. The assessor? Really? How about the registry of deeds? Show you a deed. Record. You know, I'll tell you what, the next time you have a land issue and some guy builds a fence 6 feet into your property, go down to the registry, go down to the assessor and see if that's going to hold up in court. Where do you have to go when you go to court? You got to go to the registry of deeds and get the land deed, get the plot, get the damn exact locations of where your land is and how much land is your land.
That's right.
We all know that because you own property and I own property. But this is the city again, trying to bullshit people. Oh, yeah, the assessor said it's okay. Well, the assessor also said that Kathy Ann Viveris could pay 1/3 the taxes of everybody else in her area. Well, who cares? Nobody cares. Well, it's time for the people of Fall River to start caring. That's why we're back. We're going to be here through the entire election cycle. And you're not going to get your wish, that city councilor who was overheard saying, we just wanted to get them off the air for the election cycle. Wrong again.
Well, you know, it's been great spending this time with our viewers. I've been reading the comments as they've been coming up. One person, I'm not going to give him his name or whatever, says that, you know, they call themselves the Coven with you guys don't learn, huh? That is straight defamation. No, it's not. It's a descriptive phrase. Okay, that's
What's that?
that's what they classify themselves as, and that's fine.
What? So it's defamation to call us what they call themselves?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I can see you're a real genius, too. You're a real genius. We didn't call them the Coven. They called themselves the Coven, and we got the picture and the Facebook post.
That's right. That's
okay?
Right.
So that's not defamation. So you take us to court and charge us with defamation for calling them what they call themselves. Okay?
Plus, they're politicians. We can call them anything we want. We can call them pigs with lipstick on. So we can call
well,
them
two out of three. Well, maybe it's defamation for Renee Brown.
Yeah.
How dare she call herself Roxy Maverick?
Right.
What is that? An alias? Is she defaming her name by calling herself another name? We didn't invent that name. That's the name that she uses. That's her nom de plume.
That's
her
right.
pseudonym.
Yeah.
So they called themselves. It's pathetic. If you got an argument, make it. But when you're another wokey mudslinger. People who have a different opinion can't speak because it's like the Michigan state now. Went through the House. It's going to go through the Senate. They're going to get a 10-year term, $10,000 fine and a 5-year term for using the wrong pronoun.
Right.
That will not hold up in the Supreme Court of the United States because they get to pick and choose who they want to say they were intimidated by it.
Right.
You don't like what we say? Tough shit.
Yep. Well, I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
You can take that to the bank.